Hi, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Samantha Emsweiler. I'll be your professor for Logic 2. Here is my email address, semsweiler@jtcc.edu. I have online and on-campus office hours in case you're interested. And I want to make sure that in this lecture this week I explain what's expected of you, why you might be interested in taking this class, because I personally will say that I love propositional and predicate logic, which is going to be what this is concentrating on, what we call deductive logic in particular. So what we're going to work with in this class to me is really fun. We're going to learn things called proofs, and hopefully we'll get all the way through and be able to do predicate proofs by the end. And we're going to go slowly and hopefully do a lot of exercises and try to make sure that we understand the material really well. You need help when you're doing the work and your answers aren't checking. And at that point, instead of starting to get behind or procrastinating or worrying about doing it, I want you to stop, take some time. Either you can chat with me on my online office hours, you can make an appointment with me for on-campus office hours, or you can come to my on-campus office hours. Normally tell me ahead of time and I'll tell you what to bring, because sometimes if you bring your practice material, I can see immediately what's missing and what you need and what I can help you with. Okay, so this is how class is going to work. You're going to have a few things to do each week, and on the syllabus, which will continue to be developed throughout the semester, as will the course documents or weekly folders. Right now we're at the very beginning of this first class as a virtual class for me, and so therefore you'll find that the materials are starting to pop up as we go along the road. But you'll have a week 1 folder, and you open week 1 folder up, and you'll have a lecture from me that's written. Okay, so you have this video lecture to watch, and then you have a written lecture to read. And it can be pretty long, but what I'm really trying to do is to emphasize material that I want you to understand is going to be emphasized in the tests and in the homeworks. And also I want you to do a lot of practice problems. This class is like an exercise class for your mind. You're going to be creating, by doing all these inferences, you're actually creating new brain connections, and therefore you need to spend a lot of time doing these practice exercises. You might think, you might read it and then look in the answer in the back and go, oh, I get it, but you don't get it. You don't get it until you can reproduce the actual results in a manner that is correct. In other words, I'm going to ask you to do a lot of these practice exercises. I'm not going to look at them. I'm not going to grade them. You don't have to worry about that. All I'm worried about is that you're going to spend enough time working on the material and finding out if you're ready to progress. All of stuff, one thing builds on the next thing. And therefore it really requires you to start with the basic building blocks and get them right from the beginning. So immediately you have issues, come to me. Again, on campus is best because I can talk to you, but if not that way, we'll figure some other way out. Okay, so on your syllabus, you'll have this thing, and it's your to-do list, okay? And so, for example, week 1, it'll tell you to read the textbook. It'll tell you to read the online reading of the lectures, or any online readings I might post, like this week, just giving you general guides on philosophy. Also, you'll have the practice exercises in the lecture to do, and the practice exercises in the textbook. And then the very important thing will be discussion board, which we'll talk about for a little bit. Okay, so this is supposed to be a checklist for you. I don't want you to think you're done with your work for the week unless you can actually go through and say, yeah, check, 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 check. I did all of it. Okay. So now discussion board is going to be set up in an interactive way. You and your peers are going to be allowed to discuss the answers that you give. The deal is that basically it's like you're going up onto Blackboard and you're going to post your answers. The first person, and each week it's going to post at a certain time, 8 a.m. on Mondays. And the first person to answer a question will be able to choose the 2 questions that they want to answer. Okay, and the next person can choose any of the questions they want to answer except for the 2 that the person has already chosen, and we'll continue that way. So no 2 students should answer any students that have been previously, any questions that have been previously answered by other students. And if you do, you'll get, you'll lose points for that. You'll also get probably a message from me about that. That's just not how it's done. Now this is a peer-to-peer interaction chance, so this is the deal. You can tell each other if you think your answers are right or wrong. You can interact with each other nicely and with rules of etiquette. Please read the syllabus, very clear about all the rules of classroom and what's expected of you online as well. And so therefore you can interact with each other in your discussion board. And you can actually change your own answers if you find that you're believing an argument another student makes or something like that. Okay, so feel free to change your answers. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. The deal is that it goes down exactly at 9 o'clock on Mondays the following week. And when it goes down, that's it. So your final answer, whatever it was, it's written in there, that's it. Okay. And then the next one pops up, and again, the same rules apply. So a little bit competitive just for trying to get the probably easy questions first. But feel free to be competitive with yourself and choose to do hard questions. That would be wonderful to see. I'm sure you have a lot of questions about this class, and feel free to engage with me, both sending me emails. If it's unclear at all how it's set up and what is expected of you, again, please, this first week, let's get that ironed out. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to talking about logic and what you're going to be doing, and both why you should take logic and how it's going to help you. It's going to help you develop your mind into a very abstract thinker. And this will help you with language in general, and hopefully be able to make it easier for you to understand expressions, particularly expressions of arguments in the real world. If you're ever interested in becoming a lawyer, this will, I think, be very helpful as well, because there are this is just building blocks. This is just a basic layer of logic. There's other layers of logic as well. And so also, if you're interested in philosophy, this is a really good place to start. This course itself, normally, so if you go to VCU, then it will count at VCU as a symbolic logic course, which is, for example, required for a philosophy minor at VCU. I believe it's minor. Anyway, so when you're taking this course, you're going to be learning 2 main things, and let me just show you on the thing. You'll be going through basically chapter 1 and 6, and all the way up through the end of chapter 8, and then there'll be some additional lectures from me as well. But you'll notice that we're going to concentrate on very little material that's going to be very dense and require a lot of practice on your behalf. Let me sort of re-emphasize this practice thing. Suppose that you were a rugby player, and I watched you play a game, and you said, "Oh, okay, so what'd you think of the game?" I said, "Oh yeah, I bet I could play rugby that well. I totally understand it." That person would be insulted, because it's not just about watching and saying, yeah, I believe it. You don't believe it until you make the connections in your mind yourself using your own way of thinking. This is going to be what's called a natural deduction system, and so it's going to really uncover how each of you think individually. When I look at your proofs, I'll be able to tell, without even looking at the name, who wrote that proof, because everybody thinks individually, and therefore doing these exercises is going to be vital to you being able to get an A in class, and probably enjoy it a lot more than you would if you were lost or confused at all. I have to stop now, so nice to meet you all. Nice to see my returning students as well, and if you have any questions, please email me.